All set?
I'm not seeing, yeah, here we are.
There.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening. This is a meeting of the Hamden Board of Selectmen, the Hamden Board of Health being held in the Townhouse Auditorium on January 2nd, 2004 at 6 p.m. This meeting is being conducted in person and remotely using video conferencing technology. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is anyone else recording the meeting beside us? And I would like to point out that Selectman Flynn is joining us via Zoom. Are you there, John?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, all right. Did you stand for the pledge? All right, do we have any minutes?
No, we don't.
Okay. The first item on the agenda, if the person represent is a hearing, National Grid hearing regarding the placement of an underground conduit, basically at the intersection of Allen Street and Wilbraham Road. Is the National Grid person on?
I don't see them.
Yeah,
they signed up.
That's me, actually.
Oh, okay.
That's you?
I thought Jennifer was.
Yeah, he's here.
Too, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we don't have a chair for you. Grab a-
Yeah, there's chairs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't know anyone was coming in person.
No, it's okay.
So here's the map.
Here's the map.
Yep,
What's the deal?
so, there's a new solar company, DG Amoresco, that is installing a field on Cross Road, right off of Main Street. A little bit north of Allen Street, there's a National Grid feeder that we're gonna double circuit down Allen Street. At this intersection, it's already a pretty cluttered with utility poles. It's a long span distance across about 350 feet, which we normally try to avoid. So the most efficient option to get that second circuit across the road without cutting back and forth across where it exists is to go underground here. It leaves for the most little amount of maintenance in the future. There's gonna be 2 conduits, so if they ever have to replace the cable, they have a spare one. They don't have to dig up the ground ever again, barring it collapses, which it doesn't. So this is just the most efficient way. This project will also allow for storm hardening and additional switching in the area, which is good for the local residents. It allows for less outage times. If there is an outage due to, say, a tree falling, it's gonna be brand new pole line. So it should be a more efficient and reliable area as well.
In the event that there's ever any construction at that intersection, there's not a year goes by where somebody talks about wanting to do something there.
Okay.
How does that affect the underground utilities? If somebody wants to put in a different roadway or something.
Different roadway, I mean, it shouldn't affect this. I'm not sure if there's other utilities in that intersection. I'd have to, can actually look at my other plans, but
I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but people have talked about a rotary.
yeah.
So I mean, but you obviously have to dig up the area. Is that gonna affect what's in the ground or the?
That shouldn't
projects?
affect a rotary.
I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but just saying it's.
Right. And this is, again, at the discretion of the solar company too, so they wanted to keep online and something did need to be moved, it would certainly be accommodated.
Okay.
John, do you have any questions?
I did hear from Rich Rediker, who had questions about it. I answered them with the information from Mark, and he was satisfied with the proposal.
You were satisfied with it?
That is Rich Rediker.
All right, yeah.
Is that the volume on that that's too loud, or is that John's phone that's too loud?
I don't think our volume is too loud, but it's,
Is Rich on?
how's that?
I answered with the information Mark gave me, and I was satisfied with that, so he had no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Yep,
Just a quick request. If the plans happen to change and that line has to remain underground
Yep,
any further south than what's being proposed, we would definitely need to know about that. Because of other underground utilities that are just south of where you plan on popping back up.
yep,
Other than that, I was able to meet with some engineers and supervisors out there a few weeks ago, and sounds pretty good.
okay, awesome. No, it wouldn't go further south than that. Again, it's just it's a busy intersection, already a lot of poles, and it's just a long span, so the most efficient way to get across.
when do you think you'll start to work?
So petition hearings is the next step right now. Once we get past this, it'll go to scheduling. So I would have to confirm, but I wouldn't say till at least the springtime.
Okay, and you know how long it would take to complete that? I mean, would the road have to be closed off at any point?
So they're gonna have police protection out there while they do it, so they'll do it in different groups. So, I mean, it's a main intersection. They're gonna need a heavy amount of police protection to, avert traffic around. The underground piece shouldn't take more than a week with installing all the conduit and then pulling the cable. They'll just do that at each side, at each manhole right there, which is just off the road. So they'll pull the cable. It'll take another day or two.
Springtime, roughly?
Yeah, I would assume, I don't know exactly. I can follow up with a better answer.
The only concern I have is that's a major artery in town.
Yeah.
And if it's in the spring, we still have school, and it's a major traffic through path
Right.
for, buses and stuff.
Right.
So I mean, if anything's done, maybe coordinate it so it's after the school
Okay.
hours in the morning. So if they have to close the road down,
Yeah,
buses aren't gonna be able to get around or anything like that.
I can certainly relay that.
Just an idea. And then, Mark, you had talked previously about other road projects that had repaving back over the top of them. Does this pose any problems where the plowing, paving over small sections, and do they need to extend it wider, like Main Street here, when we only did the section and it started bumping up a little bit?
So while we were out there, we did discuss, there's an existing seam right at Wilbraham Road at the intersection. I asked that at least be, one of the edges.
Okay,
And so it'll kind of blend in a little bit better. And they said it was gonna be a 4 or 5 foot trench, and it'll be straight,
okay.
paved. And when the time comes, I'll be out there to just kind of,
So you've already looked it over and thought ahead about that too?
yes. And then actually, it turns out it's a straight shot from where they wanna
Yeah.
come off the pole. So it works out pretty good.
And there'll be no double poles there? My favorite topic.
Yeah, no, I know that's always a hot topic. They'll do the best to remove them as soon as possible. I wish I could promise it as the design engineer, but I know that they do their best to remove those as quick as possible. I know they're a eyesore.
Easy boy.
My email finger gets,
I'm sure.
Alice is on it.
Trust me, I know.
Morning email finger.
I don't like them out there either, so, but everybody's got to transfer over to the new pole.
I understand.
And, it's all timing.
Any further discussion? Motion?
Motion to approve the poll application as presented under the direction of the highway superintendent.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I gotta sign this after, right? Okay,
Yvonne DeRico has joined the meeting.
okay.
She'll speak for Ty and Bond's project.
Okay, Yvonne, the next item on the agenda is a Thornton Burgess School Condition Evaluation. We have Yvonne go from Ty and Bond. Yvonne?
Hi, good evening, everybody. So basically, yes, I'm here to discuss trying to create a proposal for the Burgess Middle School building evaluation. I had some questions just regarding scope of this. I was wondering if you wanted like a full comprehensive building conditions assessment report like we did before, for the building with the library and then the regular town hall in it. And that would include code and accessibility issues, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, roof evaluation, building finishes, parking, things like that. Or instead of that, I was wondering, since the building is in pretty good condition as it is, I mean, overall, just looking at it, having been there once for a few, maybe an hour or less. But I was thinking maybe we could just do like a concept layout plan for you, just to see if the types of spaces you would like to have in that school, if it were to serve as a town hall, how they would fit, if we have to adjust anything for accessibility or for code, things like that. Would that be sufficient for you, or do you want to know exactly, I guess, the quality of the building, how long certain finishes and materials can last for, and so forth? And lastly, I wanted to know if a hazardous building materials assessment, meaning for asbestos or things like that, is needed as well for this.
John, you got any ideas?
I have to say that I'd like to know what the cost is for both, really. I think an assessment of the building is critical, but just to see if it's suitable for a town hall.
It's him.
You're breaking up, John.
That what Yvonne mentioned for the second thing is just as critical. Is the building appropriate for use as a town hall? I mean, is the layout conducive to what, the operation is? Knowing what the building status is important. I would question the asbestos thing. Don, you and I had a before that, in your time on the school committee, you were always, concerned with old buildings and things like that, to mitigate those needs.
I thought we removed a lot of the asbestos from there at one point.
It was on their school committee's report though, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
The tiles had all been done, Don, most of the pipes.
Pipes. Yeah. The tiles have been done. There might be some around the pipes in the boiler room still, but there's not much there anymore. So we probably need a mechanical assessment.
Yeah, I don't think we need a space assessment or a layout assessment. I think we need to know the longevity of the building. Roof, obviously we need down the road, parking lot, the mechanicals, the structurals, the windows. I think all the stuff that would make it inhabitable for the next,
20 years.
Yeah, 20 or plus years. I think layout could be configured at any point down the road. I think it's more or less, is the building good? Is it sufficient? And what are we looking at expending into it down the road for maintenance and upkeep? I don't think we've ever had a capital plan on that building, right?
No.
So, I think that would be a great starting point for that.
What type of cost are you looking at for something like that, do you think? I don't know if that's you or Craig.
More Craig, I think.
Yeah, I can jump in on that one. I haven't been to the building yet, but my guess is if we're doing similar scope, similar disciplines as what we did for town hall, meaning, structural, architectural, mechanical, HBMA, hazardous materials, site civil, et cetera, it'll probably be ballpark similar costs. Obviously I think we did that one in 2022, right? So there'll be a couple of, annual cost of living increases in rates and things like that. But, general ballpark, it'll be somewhere in the same cost range, which I want to say was 40-something thousand.
I don't remember offhand.
Yeah, I remember. You remember how much it was?
If you give me a minute, I can tell you what it was.
You might be close.
Something says to me 48.
48 sounds right, yeah.
It was under
Yeah, I want to say it was in the 40s.
We also did a space assessment too. So do we need to do that at Town Burgess?
I don't think we need to. I agree with you. I think we just want to do structural, mechanical.
Bones, one of the bones.
Yeah, because if we ever use it, we could do a layout plan later on.
Right.
There's certainly enough space here.
One classroom's the same as another classroom.
Do you have enough
Yeah,
information?
so the town hall was 53,000, but that included a $9,000 spatial planning.
Okay,
So
all right. So we're talking in the 40s.
44,000.
Yeah,
So,
Okay.
yeah, so ballpark, it'll be likely somewhere in the 40s.
right. John, do you agree with just the structural?
I do, so I can assume that Craig would come back with a firm quote, and then if later down, we would vote to approve the quote and find a funding source.
You're sound really broken up, John. We haven't had enough time hearing you.
Breaking up, John.
I don't know if you're too close to the mic or if your mic's messed up.
I would assume that at a later meeting, we would get a quote from Craig and vote to approve it and find a funding source.
Charlie Brown.
So we will definitely put together a scope of work, a proposal with the list of everything that we'll do and the costs. And then I didn't pick up on the last part of that. It sounds like you're looking for a funding source.
No problem.
That's our problem.
Yeah. I think if I had to paraphrase John, he throw together a proposal for us, a quote with, add-ons, I guess, if we wanted to do the spatial consideration, how much extra that would be on top of it in general. Not necessarily that we want to go that route, but just if we wanted to, we would have it laid out in front of us.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we can do a proposal for, structural, architectural, the conditions assessment. If you feel like most of the hazardous material has been abated and you don't want to pull the trigger on that, we can put that as an alternate, and we can also put a spatial planning as an alternate as well.
All right, sounds
Alternate,
good.
that's what I was looking for.
All right, good.
Perfect.
Good, thank you. Have a good
All
evening.
right, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Next item on our agenda is a discussion regarding the Gaming Commission mitigation funds and the new Chapter 90 funds, and
Yes.
what do we want to do with them?
Well, just as a refresher, the Gaming Commission provided $203,100 to design a sidewalk along Main Street. That was contingent on receiving the $1.3 million from the state transportation bond. As everybody knows, that bond has not been funded by the governor. And so I have had a communication with the Gaming Commission, and they said they will reprogram those funds if that's what the town wants, but they're not going to approve design unless the bond package is also approved. So we're stuck.
So that's with that project.
That's with that project. Now, the other amount of money that we have received that we did not anticipate is $152,747. And that's from the so-called fair share amendment or a millionaire's tax, whatever you want to call it. That's our allocation. It is being put through the Chapter 90 formula. So we can use those funds for anything for which Chapter 90 is available.
Since it goes through Chapter 90, does it have to go through the highway department? Because doesn't he operate a lot?
We get the allocation, we spend the money up front, and we get reimbursements. Mark has been very conscientious about coming in, and we sign documents for reimbursement right after we use the funds.
But is that the way this is going to work, or did they just put it in there for a place to put it?
They put it in there for a place to put it. Half of it,
Yeah, but,
they set aside $100 million for the state. 50 million was put through the Chapter 90 formula.
okay,
50 million was put through a different formula, and then they were all pooled into Chapter 90. So,
Are we guaranteed this money?
yes, absolutely.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is still,
I mean, we're guaranteed it the same way we're guaranteed Chapter 90.
Okay.
my question, did they put it in the count yet, or do they, is it gonna be the same thing, same way?
If I may, I
Yeah, here, grab a seat.
Come on down.
So I did speak with Chris Bouchard, our state aid engineer for District 2 today.
Yeah.
All the same rules for Chapter 90 apply to this sum of money. They are in the process of filling our accounts. In a couple of weeks, they will be sending out spreadsheets with all of our balances. So it's basically an extra 152,747 added to our Chapter 90 to be used the same way. We have to do a project request, all the same rules, and then eventually do a project reimbursement paperwork. The other thing too is I wanted to make sure, because Chapter 90 funds you can carry over. So there's a time limit. It's a 10-year time limit.
Okay,
So those contracts are a 10-year contract. We're currently in year 7 of 10 of the current 10-year contract. We're in year 7.
yeah,
So this 152 will be in our account for when we want to use it. Or when we, I can add it to however the town wants to use it, or if it's gonna be used for road work, stuff like that. I can either try to get a project request in soon enough for this spring's work, or I can hold off and keep that money and add it to our 250 for FY '25.
So we're not under the gun to spend that money,
No,
but it's the other casino mitigation money that we need to know what to do with. Or
I've said to Mary Thurlow at the Gaming Commission
yeah,
that I was discussing this with the selectmen tonight, and then I'm going to be back to her tomorrow morning and tell her what the decision was. Now, there's a couple of other items here that factor in. You had asked me a few weeks ago to find out if we can have more than one TIP project. The Transportation Improvement Program is regional, and it is managed by the Metropolitan Planning, or MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is a roundtable of representatives from most towns in the region. We don't have a direct representative. Mark Gold from Long Meadow is our representative at the MPO. There's also a Joint Transportation Committee, and they do the screening for the MPO and the TIP program. So there's a few stages. When you get to like 25% design, you can go to them and they will review it, and then they may make a recommendation to the MPO as to which projects to put on the TIP. Sounds bureaucratic, but it's not really all that time consuming. The real time consuming is to get the design done. So we can have more than one TIP project. I think that question was asked in connection with the East Main Street Bridge, which we would want to go to the TIP for. And maybe later on, you might want to do some kind of TIP project for the intersection at East Long Meadow, Summers Allen, and Wilbraham Road. Could you have two TIP projects? I posed that question, the answer is yes. They make a judgment on the need and the quality of the design and the need for the improvement, not whether or not one town gets more than another town. So, I mean, so you have some choices. I'm going to apply to, in the new round for the Gaming Commission, the chief of police has a project that he's worked up and given to me. Remember, they funded the chief in this round, current round. And then secondly, I'm going to ask him for the 50,000, which is the local match for the East Main Street Bridge project. So you can take some of these funds, apply them to the bridge project. You can apply them to the construction of the sidewalk that Ty and Bond did that's designed for Summers and Allen. You can apply it for design of a project at Wilbraham, Summers, or Allen, and East Long Meadow. So you have, I could see you could have three choices, or you might have others. I mean, you might want to use it for other purposes, but those would be the obvious ones. Or you could take the 152, leave it in Chapter 90, and have the Highway Department use it for projects.
I mean, there's a couple things that come to mind. I mean, I'd love to see that sidewalk finished all the way down Main Street.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know what the engineering costs were there at. I mean, I think the 1.3 we were getting from the state was to cover the engineering and the build.
Oh, it will, yes. I think the last we looked at, I was looking this afternoon for the Ty and Bond design. And because I think they gave us an estimate for the cost of construction, it was in the range of, I think, 340,000.
For the engineering?
To build, no, the engineering's been, I mean, the design has been done.
Okay,
Some decisions have to be made as to how long you keep it on one side and when do you move it to the other side.
right.
But the design, several designs, I should say, have been completed. That was done with the 25,000 that was given to the town initially by the DOR a number of years ago. The construction part of that was, when we took this up several years ago, with the range of 340, it's probably another 100,000 for all I know,
Are you, when you
to build the sidewalk.
are you talking about the one on Allen and Summers or the one
Yes,
on Main Street?
yes.
Sorry, I thought we were talking about Main Street.
Yeah. Or we could use it to design Main Street.
Yeah,
It's just that we don't have funds to build it.
right.
And we would not be able to use the gaming money. We could use the Chapter 90 money.
Oh,
But the gaming money is contingent on the state coming through
but you talked about.
with the transportation bond money of 1.3.
You talked about reprogramming of the gaming money, though.
Yes, reprogramming would mean it will not be used to design Main Street. We could use it to build Summers, Allen, we could use it for design of that major intersection, or we could take some of it and use it, I guess, for the East Main Street Bridge local match. Although I'm going to ask them in the new round to give us that money, and I'm sure they will.
And what was their drop dead date that they want a decision by? Like, they want, I mean, you told them tomorrow.
I told them tomorrow. I didn't receive a drop dead date, but she did. She has sent me 2 messages saying, "What are you going to do?"
Because if we talk about that other other sidewalk there on Allen and Summers,
Yeah,
I mean, you said 340-ish.
more.
We have, yeah, it's probably gonna be close to 500. We don't have enough with Chapter 90 or the mitigation fund.
203 plus 152.
Right. I mean, we've actually even talked about putting another, flashing light out here, crosswalk light here on Main Street
Yeah.
in North and Chapin. I mean, that's an option too, right?
Yeah, well, those are the options. I think if there's anything that's urgent, it is, I need to get back to the Gaming Commission or reprogramming of that 203, because if we don't, I know what they're going to do.
Take it.
Take it and use it
Right.
for some other project.
I think it
Don?
makes,
Go ahead, John.
Oh, Don, going back to the extra money from the millionaire's tax, in my opinion, I really think that's money that should be right back to Mark's, the highway type thing. We've been underfunding, highway work. We have the paving money, but it hasn't kept pace with inflation. And that money, I think, should be in the road work. The fact that I'm sure Mark's got a list of projects that aren't being funded now because we only have, I don't know, to what, 400 a year, basically, Mark, between Chapter 90 and the town money. Doesn't even cover the cost of inflation with material. And to give him that flexibility with the extra 150, for road work. I understand Craig's point about, and I think, Bob, we had an engineering proposal, it was in the 180 range. Remember Craig, and they came to us and we said, well, we're not gonna approve that engineering because we don't know if we're getting the bond money.
Right.
But that was the amount that I think Time Bond wanted for
Right.
the
Yeah,
engineering.
that's
for
right.
Main Street.
That's right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the engineering was, I think it was modified to the higher number because we were going to wrap around and do the other side of Main Street for the length of that blacktop sidewalk now.
Yeah, on the north side.
Oh,
Yeah.
that couldn't be much engineering. That was just taking up the old blacktop and replacing
Yeah.
concrete. I mean,
Right, yeah. Correct, yeah. Although it would be ADA compliant concrete, so they'd have to expand the width of it. But anyway, that's,
well, I don't know. I'd be, Don, I'd be looking for kind of a decision from the board that the extra millionaire's money, if you will, be directed towards the highway superintendent and coming back to the board with an updated construction plan. Maybe a 2 or 3 year plan for the board to review.
I hate to lose that 200,000.
That's
No,
where my
no,
mind
that's
is right
separate.
now.
I'm talking-
he's
That's,
talking about the
That's separate.
152.
I know, but I just hate to lose that 200,000. I don't, yeah. I don't,
that's,
I don't
that's not-
necessarily disagree with that. I'm just trying to figure out how we can work the 200,000 in there. You know,
well, I do agree with Craig that I don't think that number of 340 is even close. I don't think Time Bond considered the, Don, across from, Mountain
Yeah,
View.
by
You know,
Claude's
that's-
house, yeah,
Exactly. All that Concom work.
wetlands there, you know.
I mean,
Yeah.
to lose that 200, I mean, Bob's option there was we could put it towards the match for the bridge on Main Street. We talked about doing another crosswalk, flashing crosswalk sign. I mean, I see people using the one down by the park
Yeah,
all
they
the
do it all
time.
the time, yeah.
Yeah,
So that'd be 50, and then we have
I think it was like,
roughly 150 left, and
That's, the crosswalk thing is like 50, right?
10.
Close to 50?
yeah, the crosswalk would not be quite 50.
I think it was like in the 20s, I thought.
Yeah, 20s.
Still have the landing at the one down here to do.
Yeah.
I had a couple ideas for what it's worth. Guardrail upgrades on Glendale Road. You could argue that that is a route through Hamden to the casino. Guardrail upgrades, and then also perhaps recessed delineators on some of the darker, windier roads, North Munson Road or.
We can't use that mitigation funds on certain areas, though. It has
The
to,
roads that they have recognized, and I don't know if that's closed. I mean, you might be able to convince them to include Glendale. The roads that have been recognized are Main Street and Summers Island, because they're directly into Springfield. Summers Island directly into Springfield. And Main Street would be the main connector to the Summers Island.
I see. So it was the reason we talked about sidewalks, because it improves the people off the road for the traffic going through. I mean, I don't want to kick this down the road because they need a decision, but should we take a week to kind of snowball ideas amongst the board and come back next week with hard ideas to
We
vote
can
on?
do that. I'll call her tomorrow. I'll call Mary Thurlow, who is the person at the Gaming Commission in Boston.
I mean, I think there's two viable ideas on the table right now, right? With
Yeah,
the community match for the bridge and then possibly another crosswalk light here.
and ask her what she thinks it can be spent on.
Yeah.
Can we, I don't know, use it for paving? Can we use it to, because you,
I'm just thinking out loud. I will send you, they did a webinar. I'll send you the webinar.
okay,
Get some ideas from that, maybe.
all right.
Did you see the webinar, Mark?
I did not.
No, okay.
All right, let's do that. Let's put it on, let's think about it another week.
All right.
Put it on for next week, and you call her and just say, the board
Has ideas, but we want to
has ideas and
explore
trying to
options.
explore options, and got lots of ideas.
Okay.
All right, next week. And that's pretty much the use of Main Street sidewalk funds, right? It's the same thing, right?
Yeah. And I did receive, which I sent to you late this afternoon, 2 proposals, actually a proposal from the attorney who met with us a while back to handle the next item, which is the cable contract. Probably haven't had time to read it. There's no pressure on that, but I didn't receive it until this afternoon, so we could take a week on that as well. And then,
The only thing I want to say about that on the cable license, they haven't sent in their application yet,
right,
you know, so we have to have an application, because the application is essentially their proposal to us, what they're gonna do for their renewal.
yep.
So we need to get their application, so if you can get a hold of that guy.
Yep.
And the other thing is that there has to be a public hearing, and there has to be 2 weeks of advertising in a local newspaper. And I think I sent a sample one from Dunstable or some town like that, how they did it. So,
I saw that, yeah.
okay.
Now, just to touch on what you said there about their proposal, since they haven't submitted a proposal, I mean, does that mean we can solicit other providers that may want to come into Hamden?
Sure.
You know, if I remember, I think Cox Cable just came in
Yeah.
a few towns over.
Comcast is around.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not interested in servicing the town, I mean, you know, if they're not going to submit a proposal in a timely fashion to fulfill the contract, what's our legal options to say that, well, does anybody else want to give us a proposal to be a cable provider?
What's Solomon's proposal? How much?
Well, I gave it to you. He gave us an hourly figure. He didn't give us a number of hours. I just said I would give that, you'd read it over, and then we would have a discussion with him.
All right,
So,
well, I hate to do it, but see you next week on this one too.
Yeah, well, they're raising their rates too, huh?
Yeah, they're raising their rates too, yeah. And the other question we wanted to find out is, which was a very good question, is towns that have their cable access for their town meetings and that stuff,
yes,
they pay an extra fee.
that's right.
So is the
Yes.
base fee in those towns the
Yes.
same as our base fee?
That's right.
And that's what we want to see if that's included in.
Solomon mentioned that as well. He said that's one of the things you want to find out before you get into negotiations. Because if there's cable, if they have the public access channels, you can get up to 3 of them, and they typically would provide funding for that, and then surcharge the users.
Right.
So the question is, are the users not being surcharged here, but are the rates the same as those communities where there's a surcharge?
Surcharge,
Yeah.
right.
So,
We don't have that.
no,
Right, but it is in our contract that they have to provide it, and there's no mention of any surcharge in our contract.
no, we're not being surcharged, and I assume we won't be because we use different technology.
But in our current contract with Spectrum, it says that they are going to provide us equipment and cable access channels.
Yes,
It makes no mention of surcharge to the customer.
Yeah, but they do.
right, they do.
Right, I understand that they do, but you would think that would have to be in the contract, that they're saying, hey, we're going to supply this.
Right. You
Surcharge.
think they would? I wasn't here, but I understand the selectmen made a decision not to go forward with public access because of the surcharge, and they were looking to spare the customers that extra amount.
All right, next week. Moving right along, undaunted. What's next? I don't have my thing.
Third-party report.
The report on
Oh, yeah. Third-party report,
WJS,
water.
yeah.
Have someone on? We have someone. We have someone here. John? Who? Who's here to report on that?
So basically, this is just a report from, Bill Fabry has forwarded it to us for our review.
Mhm.
So,
Is this just the transfer station?
correct.
So it's just a breakdown of what he's doing and what's going on up there?
Correct, yeah.
Didn't we get some numbers too, though? In November,
That for the landfill or for the other homes?
for the other homes?
We did.
I don't remember seeing them.
Probably part of that.
It's not, I don't think it's part of this, right?
What?
John doesn't think it's part of this.
Oh,
Not part of this.
okay.
I believe I did put that in the OneDrive, in the Laserfish drive.
It was the result of the November tests,
Right.
and there was no one exceeded the state limit.
Oh, really?
We're clean.
That's good news.
There are some indications of PFAS in a number of places, but
Below the trillion parts per,
20 parts per trillion.
yeah.
It's also in the file there, and they have a report for each property.
Yeah. So this is his, this one here, this is. We don't have to do anything in this tonight.
Nope.
Just FYI.
So my understanding is there's going to be a meeting with Dan Hall next week to review, or sorry, 2 weeks to review going forward with testing.
Correct.
You finally settled that, John, because I haven't been able to get a hold of him, and Jane couldn't get a hold of him today either.
But she did connect with him late this afternoon.
Right.
She did. Also, we had a resident come in who was outside the 30, wanting to have his property tested. So it seems like that's an emerging issue. This is the second resident who has made that request.
Are they within that block up there? I don't know who they are, but
Hampton Heights.
that's pretty far up though. I think that's uphill. That's on the, more on the mountainside too, isn't it? Hampton Heights.
Well, this happened because of an article in the Springfield Republican on Sunday about the testing here. And what the paper's doing now is that they're they're setting aside a whole page on Sunday to copy from the Reminder. So they're republishing the Reminder in the Republican. And so this was one of the articles from the Reminder that was printed on Sunday. And so the couple that came in said that's where they read it. So
I think if they're that far up on the mountain,
Yeah.
they're pretty far away from the landfill.
Well, he mentioned that he has an illness and he wondered if, there's PFAS and is it connected?
Yeah, okay. Anything else on this? Okay, fire department generator design and installation. Okay, so we have this proposal from Robert Hall for $6,200 to do the design, make a design to connect the generator, then we have to hire an electrician to do that, right? And the question is, there was some confusion about who was supposed to sign it and authorize it. And I guess I would say the town administrator.
I can sign it, but I thought that the selectmen really ought to authorize that.
Okay.
I move to authorize the town administrator to sign a contract with Robert Hall Consulting for the installation and design of the fire station generator.
Second, where are we funding it from?
Didn't we already determine that?
ARPA?
Was that already determined?
ARPA?
ARPA?
Did we already vote on ARPA for that or no?
No.
We talked about it, but.
Yep, you didn't vote on it.
I will amend that funding source will be from ARPA.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So I'll be in touch with Robert Hall. He used to sell suits,
He used to be on Riverdale Road.
Yeah.
I used to go to Lou Draymond in the day. Well, all those guys are gone.
A.O. White.
A.O. White, yeah.
You're dating yourself, Don. God.
I know. Could never buy them off the rack either. I used to have them tailored.
I have some information regarding the next item. I have some information regarding the next item.
Okay, the
This
next,
afternoon, the
Get-
chair,
But Bob, before you speak, I made a point before. I really question why this is on the agenda. I mean, it's the clerk hiring. What's on the agenda item is hiring of a clerk. And I really wonder why this isn't part of the town administrator report. Why it's coming to the board of selectmen for an
Because-
elected department hiring personnel. And Don, I understand your concerns. I do. But I really think this is Bob helping an elected department do proper work in posting and notice and all of that.
okay, except that the department rejected all of Bob's attempts to have that done. He explained
And
to
that would
them
be
that,
But we haven't had that report yet.
well, go ahead, give the report, then we'll talk about it. Go ahead, Bob.
I was just going to report that this afternoon, late, the chair came in with a letter resigning. He also delivered a letter to the clerk that the second member, his wife, resigned. And as you know, the third member resigned. So now we have vacancies on the commission, and it would be the obligation right now for the selectmen to make appointments so that we can have a cemetery commission until the next elections. That's number one. With regard to the clerk,
And this has nothing to do with the qualifications of the clerk or anything else.
no, nothing, no. So my understanding is that an interview with the one candidate for this position will be set up with the selectmen for January 8th.
Okay, but prior to that, what occurred was, there was an executive session, which they cannot do under the open meeting law.
Yes,
They hired the clerk.
yes,
They didn't do a background check as required by the policy manual.
correct.
They didn't consult with the town administrator as to the placement on the compensation scale, which we spent a lot of money and time on for the people. And you've attempted to explain to them that they need to do a redo, and it was rejected. So therefore, we left with the option of having to, you know, I mean, it's fairness to the other department. If we're gonna have a human resources policy compensation, then everyone's gotta work on it, whether they're independently elected or not. And I understand that the independent boards have a certain amount of latitude, but their latitude only goes so far. If they're not following the open meeting law, if they're not following town compensation and hiring policies, then it's the obligation, in my belief, of the selectmen to step in and say, hey, you gotta do it this way, because what are we gonna do? We're gonna let everybody, you know, just put people on the compensation scale, hire people, have a meeting, don't have a meeting? I mean, we have a responsibility to take a little bit of leadership on this. That's my whole point. And it could have been fixed very easily by them simply doing a redo. Calling another meeting, calling the person in, say, sorry for the confusion, right? We're offering you this position, you have to do a background check, go see, I'm gonna talk to the town clerk and put you on the compensation, the proper place on the compensation scale. That could have been fixed very simply.
So the resignations, they've been submitted to the town clerk
Yes,
and they're official?
yes,
Okay. There was one candidate prior?
yes,
Okay. So now that the board has a vacancy, the selectmen are now the oversight?
yes.
Okay.
The selectmen will appoint until the next election.
Okay. So what we should probably do then is put a memo out there, a job opening for the positions, right? Three positions plus the clerk. I mean, it's only fair that they're all posted online now
Yep.
for vacancies. I think it's imperative that we fill that clerk position. But
Yeah, someone's gonna answer the phone.
someone's gonna answer the phone. I mean,
Yes, we've had 2 inquiries.
and, you know, the business still happens down there and it needs to be taken care of.
Correct.
I would recommend that we post for 2 weeks and take any candidates for an interview and the next, not next meeting, but the week after.
16th.
As I pointed out in my report incidentally, we did do the ad in the Wilbraham Times.
That's gotten a lot of traction. I've had a lot of people reach out to me concerned
Right, yeah,
or
well,
interested in position.
I'm hoping we're going to get communication from people who are willing to serve. So,
What are we gonna do in the next 2 weeks, though?
Who does that fall under now then, Bob, for 2 weeks? I mean, if there's nobody to run a clerk, does that fall on you as a town administrator?
I think that someone,
Board of Health?
if someone comes in and wants to purchase a lot, we've got to provide that service. And I assume if I can get a key, figure out the paperwork there, that this is highly unusual. I've never encountered a situation where all board members and all staff people have resigned.
The Water Commission has files in that office too, so there are
Yeah.
keys available.
So,
Can we interview that person on the 8th?
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I just thought maybe if we gave time to, I mean, it's still a week time if we post it, right?
sure.
I mean, it gets them in here quicker, right? But
Yeah,
if
yeah.
there's no other, I mean, they had it posted and there was only, one interested party?
And according to them, that she was well qualified, so maybe we need to see her qualifications.
I did speak with her today.
Yeah, the candidate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Explained why there are some issues and she will not be starting tomorrow.
Okay.
And I said it's likely that the selectmen will want to interview you maybe next week. So
All right, let's put her on.
said whatever they want to do.
All right, so put her on for the 8th,
All right,
and then you'll put on the website and guess, there's
Okay.
the cemetery commission. Okay.
I guess my
Anything else?
next question is, who's gonna do the work at the cemetery commission in the meantime?
Well, we could appoint ourselves,
I think that's reasonable.
right, until, just
Right.
interim.
can appoint yourselves to temporary membership as on the commission.
Yeah, and as we find people, we'll resign.
But we're still going to, more than a commission, we need a staff.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So maybe we should appoint ourselves this evening as the commission so we can hire the staff,
Right.
That would make sense.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
I gotta get my shovel, I have to get my shovel out of the shed.
There's the water.
I'll make
I'll
a,
move to appoint the Board of Selectmen as interim
Cemetery commission.
cemetery commission members until replacement candidates can be obtained.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Is Dalton on? Can you put a memo out there? Do we have board openings?
I don't see Dalton. I don't think.
Ladies, do you have something particular? Out for the show?
They might be interested in some openings.
Yes. All right. What else we got for topics here?
I got selectmen's report.
Selectmen's reports?
Yeah, I'll report from Don. I know you had a concern about the Board of Health. Basically, we were looking over the budget, current budget for the transfer station, and in our current revenues, we're waiting for some information from Cliff at this point. And we're all aware where Cliff is. He's going through some health issues. And once we get that, we'll know exactly where we stand with the enterprise fund. But at this point, we needed to make a change in our revenue stream. So we're looking to increase the small bag cost. And I know, Don, that's your bag of choice, but
I bought 50 rolls of them last week.
there you go. Got it before they get it quickly, right? You said, how many
Save
you
the
get?
$5.
Stocked up, right? Black market them.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell them for $12.50.
I saw your eBay listing, Don. Very nice. So just bring back to the board that we're going to go forward with a change to 15. I think at next year, you're probably going to see a purchase for bags, maybe even both sizes next year. But it looks like we do have a decent amount, and Craig can probably verify this, we've got a decent amount of retained earnings that is gonna help us offset that cost.
Yep.
Yep.
We need to vote on the fee.
We typically don't, but if you want to, we can.
I vote to authorize the fee increase for small transfer station trash bags. I don't remember the fee offhand.
$5, $15 for 10.
So from $10 to $15.
Yeah. Got a second there?
That would be you, Don.
Second, oh yeah, right, Board of Health, second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. All right, so,
We have a-
other select.
So we also have a building committee meeting tomorrow morning. Now we're getting into, obviously, the meat of the work at the senior center. We're waiting for, the planning board is waiting for more responses from other town boards on membership for master plan. And that's pretty much it for my people.
It's probably past due now, but the fire station had their open house for contractors on 2 separate days, and 2 separate firms showed up. I don't know if they've submitted anything yet.
Okay. The planning committee for the schools are gonna meet on the 9th. Prior to that, I'm gonna send to the board copies of the draft agreement amendments, and to take a look over them.
Amendments, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
I just received them today, so I'll email them to you guys tonight or tomorrow. Anything else?
Bad news on conservation agent, stormwater operator, or stormwater coordinator. Once again, it's message from Granby. They will not hire the candidate. So
Will they hire anybody?
we didn't get that far.
Well, that's my question. Do they just not want to do the position? And
No, I think they, from what I understand, and I did send the board the email messages that I received, which were somewhat in conflict.
Right.
So it's hard to determine what the motivation was. But the candidate was interviewed by the Granby Conservation Commission, and apparently they're not interested in hiring this individual.
My question is, I mean, this has been going on for a long time now.
Long time.
Very long time.
Yes.
We're ready to hire on our end. We
are.
Conservation Commission needs somebody. They
Yes.
stated it plenty of times. They want somebody in that door.
Been going on in the 4 years that I've been here.
Right. So if Granby has been kicking the ball down the road, I mean, we're good at that too, but obviously they're much better at it. At what point do we just say, hey, can we write back to the grant source and say, hey, can we just take all the money to hire this person for us? They're not gonna be willing to cooperate,
Good idea.
you know?
But this was not grant funded. We were going to fund it from,
I thought we got money funding, state funding for this.
no.
No?
No. Oh, I'm,
No, we were going to take 15 hours from the existing budget,
okay.
and they were going to take 20 hours.
I thought there was a funding source though.
No?
I agree with Craig. I thought so too, because we don't have that money in our current budget. I agree with Craig. I thought it was a grant.
There was a significant amount of surplus in the Conservation Commission budget at the end of last year. And so we worked out the numbers, and that's how we were going to fund it. We didn't need additional money.
If that's the case, then why don't we just hire the person for what we are gonna hire them for on our end? And
This individual is working full-time
yeah,
in, I think it's Westboro, but he has moved to Amherst because his wife has a position, I think, at UMass. And he doesn't like to commute. But I think I'm almost certain he wants a full-time job.
well, does conservation and cemetery go hand in hand?
Stormwater conservation and cemetery.
Sold, let's do it.
So,
I'm in.
Well, I can have a discussion about that.
talk to him about.
I mean, it's really tough, and I think, you know, getting somebody for 12 hours here, 12 hours there, then you start piecing it. I understand now you start going over the threshold for pension and whatnot, but, you know, if we could fill a position that, you know, desperately needed amongst multiple
I'll see what I can do.
boards.
I know he's interviewing with other, if you look on the MMA website, I've seen several in recent weeks advertising for a conservation agent. So it's one of these positions where you require training and skill, and not enough of it is out there. But I'll have a talk with him tomorrow to see if we can just go forward somehow. We've advertised twice, extensive advertising with the MMA. If you recall, the last advertising produced candidates from Eastern Massachusetts without the standard qualifications.
Do we have?
Oh, go ahead.
So anyway, that's the unwelcome news.
Are you gonna do the Bernie thing?
Yes,
Okay.
just going to mention that I spoke with Bernie Lynch of Community Paradigm this morning. There are 9 applicants. He wants to bring 4 to be interviewed by the Board of Selectmen. And he's asking if we could, and by the way, also wants to be on the agenda for a briefing on the 8th. And also wants to know if members of the Select Board can meet on the 16th, 17th, or 18th during the day to do the interviews with the 4.
Sure.
Which
Today, or is it, it's gonna be public session, right?
it'd be a public, so we would post it, but maybe for 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that, on one of those 3 days.
I think he's just thinking about the applicants coming in and
Right,
stuff like
yes.
that. You know.
What's it, 16th, 17th, or 18th?
Any of those days.
Preferably the 18th, if possible. The other
18th, good with you,
days
John?
have kids during the day.
Yes.
Yeah, 18th's good.
Good? 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will,
Send me an invite. Send me an invite.
okay. We already talked about the reprogramming of the funds. We're still moving ahead with a significant application to MBI for fiber optic funding. I mentioned the vacancies have been advertised in the Times. We're still working with RISE. A space heater, a mini split, failed today in the assessor's office. It's blowing cold air. And so I spoke with Jane, and I said, we need to get it fixed. So, or I guess they've been there for quite a while, so they're wearing out. We probably need to get a new one.
So that's why I look at it first, to determine that, right?
Okay, and then I've also mentioned the bottom, number 8, to you. So that's the report.
All right.
Now, we're going to close out this meeting and recording, and then we're going to have an executive session, and John should be able to switch over
Yeah.
the Zoom code, and Craig, to switch over the new Zoom code for the exec session.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion for the board to go into executive session to discuss the following topics. Executive review of the executive session minutes. This is under pursuant to General Law 30A, Section 21A7. The general law that will be, this is covered under, is the open meeting law. Also executive session to discuss the police union contract. This is to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, which will be coming up soon. And also executive session to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, which is the chief of police. As chair, I've determined that discussion in open meeting regarding the police union contract and the police chief's contract would be detrimental to the bargaining position of the board. So I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session, and we will not come back into open session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, John Flynn,
Aye.
Greg Arrest,
Aye.
Don Davenport, aye. Thank you all for attending.